What's up? Big Herc 916. You're tuned into another episode of Fresh Out. You know how we do it over here. Make sure you hit that like, that subscribe button, share the channel. We got another banger for you here today. We have my man Chris Baker. And if you watched the previous interview with Curtis, he's a friend of Curtis. And so we had opportunity to hook up with him and get his story. And it's a very interesting story. So get your popcorn, man, and tune in. Chris, tell the people a little bit about your background, like where you're from, how you grew up.
Yeah, my name's Chris Baker. I was born in Montebello, by mom. April had me at 16. My dad, Bobby. And, they were just kids trying to get it together. I got 3 younger sisters and we just bounced all over, due to parents not knowing how to live right, just kids learning, and just bouncing around all over, it was kind of a stressful, chaotic life, as a kid.
What was school like?
School was okay. I'm into sports, playing sports. That was my getaway.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Did you have any older brothers, or were you the oldest?
No, oldest one.
What was it like being the oldest and then, trying to find your identity in all that chaos?
Yeah, that was really tough. But I grew up with a bunch of cousins.
Okay.
So my mom's sister had 7 kids. So those were like
oh, wow.
brothers and sisters also. And sometimes we'd be hotels, all living together, 15 kids in one room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was rough.
So growing up in that type of environment, like what would you say were the defining moments like you can still remember? Like, was it going to maybe the fair or hanging out with your cousins, playing in the park? I mean, what were some of the things that really stand out that you kind of look back and that had a big impact on you?
We were carefree. Just a bunch of kids running around, not knowing anything, I remember all the time we'd have to hustle for our parents, go cash in food stamps, get change, give it to my mom, go get some cigarettes for her, whatever. It was pretty crazy. But growing up with all my cousins, it wasn't bad, but we had to learn real fast. I feel like we didn't have a really good childhood.
Was there any strong male role model that like kind of guided you or gave you any life lessons, or did you kind of have to learn those life lessons on your own?
Kind of both. My grandpa, he went to prison, so he walked the walk, but he changed his life, doing bookkeeping, and we'd get around him and he would kind of settle us down and let us know about life. They're real interesting, man.
So he would kind of break down some of his trials and tribulations and stuff like
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What was the first thing you can remember, like going back as far as like doing anything criminal?
Criminal, yeah. We were stealing all the time. From liquor stores, ditching school, smoking, all the typical stuff as a kid, with your parents doing their own thing. Yeah. Start doing your own stuff.
So you guys are pretty much on your own from a really young age then.
Basically, my parents were kids raising kids.
Did in the process of stealing, did you get caught up in juvenile hall or any of that stuff?
Never went to juvenile hall.
Wow.
Yeah, never went to YA, none of that. My
Wow.
first stop was county, over and over and over, and then off to the upstate.
So going to the county, was that something that kind of was a deterrent, or was it like really a big thing after you've seen what it was about? Or, I mean, how'd that play out?
So my first time there, yeah, it was a little scary, just getting the hang of it. Time dragged. You didn't know what was going to happen. It was for a burglary, first degree. We went inside a grocery store and stole some alcohol. And my sister was in there along with my mom, and they ended up recognizing me. Yeah. Bad timing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, real bad timing.
Wow. And how much time did you do for that?
I think I did 8 months.
And during that 8 months, was there anything as far as rehabilitation or just doing time?
No, just doing time, just running around, drinking, smoking, just, beating people up, stupid shit like that.
Was there a lot of politicking?
There was a little bit of politicking. It wasn't like it was upstate,
Yeah.
you know, but San Bernardino County is a little vicious. So,
San Bernardino's no joke.
yeah.
For a person like, in what time frame was this? Was this back in like the early 90s, 80s, or?
No, this was later than that. This was like 2002.
Okay, so 2002, yeah. Okay, I was passing through there in 2000. So for somebody who doesn't know, who's maybe a square watching this, describe like San Bernardino County, man, and like the guards in there and what type of shit. Because that place, bro, it's, the one top ramen's like $1. I mean, it's just horrible. The food is horrible. You can't talk in the chow line. Like them dudes, and they're all on swole and they're in there. Like, break that down and paint a picture for somebody who's never been to San Bernardino County, what it's like.
So you go to West Valley and you better be on your toes, because those officers there, they don't fuck around. But as far as like the politics and all that, you'll find your niche if you want to find your niche. But if you want to extend your time, they'll help you out in there real quick. Yeah, it can get nasty real quick, you know. But also if you're not with the business, they'll figure it out real quick. Also,
one of the things I tell people, like when you go to those type of places too, it's dehumanizing.
It is.
In a way you can't talk to just anybody.
Right.
Where like you think you could bullshit like how we're bullshitting now. It's not that type of party in there, because you got people in there who have been to the pen, who are back in the county trying to now put down certain rules and regulations.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of times you can't even sit on a certain table, obviously. Everything's marked, TV days, tables. Like you said, you can't talk to certain people. It is dehumanizing. And those are things that I'm still trying to unlearn today, because I got love for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not a racist. I don't get down like that, but in there, you're almost forced to. It's pretty shitty.
Well, what's crazy is like, California, right? City of sunshine, beaches, surfing, skateboarding, all that. California, and I've interviewed people from all across the country. California has the most racist prisons in the country.
It's crazy.
California's, origination of BGF, ABs, Crips and Blood. I mean, California is very divided. And I've seen guys I've interviewed from like the Midwest and other places where they're hanging out, white, black guys. It just depends on what area you're from. There's not really a racial element, but California, man, super racial, bro.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
It is. It's unfortunate because, when you think of like, when you see it from a street perspective in politics and people and how they talk, and then inside the penitentiaries and jails, it's horrible.
It is.
So after, doing a burglary, I mean, what other cases did you catch that led up to the big case?
So burglary, I ended up going to my kid's mom's house on calling the wrong phone number, and some shit popped off and ended up going to jail for that. But the big case was really, punching somebody and ended up killing them, being charged with murder.
So describe that incident, man. Like, in detail, like how did it happen? Like how did all come to a conclusion?
What's crazy is, so my cousin was stabbed earlier that week, right? And got into some road rage, was coming over my house for a barbecue, never showed up. I seen the helicopter out. I thought, what the hell's going on, We drove over, sure enough, it was him. He got stabbed a bunch of times. So we're like, what the hell? He's on life support, this and that. Go to the hospital, find out who did it. He's let me know, this is what the guy drives, this and that. Long story short, we ended up going to the bar later on, me and a couple cousins, and he got out from the hospital. He's got a cast on, walking around like this, got stuck a bunch of times, and we just went to go party and celebrate life. And the same night, this is where my case took place. It was nuts. I had a friend in there that's got a big mouth that started talking crap to a bunch of people, man. And here they come out the front, and I'm out front, just all by myself. I was smoking, and he brought the guys out front, and I was trying to settle things down. I let them know, hey, go around the corner, you guys catch a fade, and we'll go back inside and drink together. And they weren't hearing that. And one of the guys swung, And when he swung, I backed up instantly and hit him one time and knocked him out. He ended up hitting his head on the curb and, you know, behind the ear. And I feel real bad because I spit on him. I didn't know what was happening at the moment, obviously. You know, I'd been drinking. But I spit on him, mano, whatever, you know. And, man, I feel real bad. I have a lot of guilt for that still, and I'm working on that, right? But later on, I took off from the scene, me and the guy that was running his mouth, and went to my dad's house. And I'm like, hey, son, it's bad, you know. There's, you know, helicopters, ambulance, this and that. And I get a call, or I ended up calling the cops myself, saying, hey, look, you guys are probably looking for me. I'm already on paper. I'm on parole, right? Newspaper later on read parolee kills police officer's son. They came to my house. I had fallen asleep, and they fucked me up pretty good, you know, obviously. And took me in. I sat in, you know, in a homicide overnight and being questioned while I'm intoxicated still, which is obviously against the law, you know. And it was cut and dry, man. I hit the guy one time, and he hit his head and died. You know, well, everybody's saying he spit on this. I don't know none of that. Nothing, period. You know, well, you're being charged with murder. In California, how do you get charged with murder for punching somebody one time?
Damn.
Right? It's because I'm a parolee. It's because it was a police officer's son. You know, I have no problem saying all this because it's over, you know.
Yeah.
I've already asked for forgiveness from my higher power, already worked those steps, right? But it was crazy, man. It was the craziest shit that's ever happened. I'm not a killer, right? Nor did I mean to kill anybody. But a shitty ass part of me took that as like a badge of honor when I got busted, right? They locked me up. I woke up with a newspaper on the floor, and that's what it read, right? Parolee kills police officer's son. My cellie is this guy, Dan. He's still in there. He's a lifer now. And he goes, dude, what happened? You know, I had no clue. For months, I didn't know what happened. I didn't remember.
Oh,
my
shit.
brain completely blocked it out.
Wow.
And obviously alcohol or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that drunk. I remember everything leading up to that situation, right? Every single thing. I just don't remember the action and anything else, dude. It was a trip.
Man, you know, that's how crazy life is. Like you said, a one punch.
One punch.
You know, and you're just defending yourself because the guy swung on you.
That's it.
And then this is what happens. And then coincidentally, unfortunately, you have to be a police officer's son on top of it.
Yeah.
You know, and who knows if he was intoxicated or what, you know what I mean? You were just out there and just, it just happened.
Happened, man. It was nuts, you know.
So did you go to trial on that?
No, I fought it. I fought, and they ended up dropping it down to assault with GBI with the GBI enhancement. They gave me 11 years on it. Yeah, and I took that 11. Actually, they gave me 7, and the judge called a recess and goes, "No, this is too high, you know, high profile. You need to do some more time."
Damn.
The family was in there, you know.
Yeah.
They did their statements and all that. It was a trip, man. I'm not gonna lie, it was some scary shit, you know.
And you know, in a situation like that too, is that you don't, when you hear the story, right, and the way it comes out in the paper, you don't see how it all is laid out. Like what led up that person's behavior, like your behavior. You know what I mean? You don't have a actual camera to see all that, to where you see a guy come up, swing on you, and you're like, oh, and then boom, and then it's like, if you see that, and you're like, whoa, okay, well, man, looks like he defended himself, and the guy fell, and then you don't know. You know what I mean? It's like the cop who shoots the kid, and they're, oh, he got shot, but no, he shot first, and you don't see the whole, you know, the whole situation play out. So a lot of people are quick to judge, but when you're in, you know, when you're dealing with life and things happen, and you're talking about, like, you know, somebody losing their life, you know, until you see what leads up to that, it's hard to really pass judgment, you know, and that's the part that's usually left out in the stories.
Of course.
And you don't really, your voice is not heard because the voice of the victims, you know, but at the same time, it's like, well, what led to that and how that happened?
Right.
You know, so that's the messed up thing about a lot of times, you know, people in jail, and you're like, well, man, I just hit a guy one time. And dude, I got this time. And you're like, this is crazy, man. I thought the guy would get up, you know, whatever, walk away. You know, you weren't expecting to make that. It wasn't like you intended that to happen.
Right, right. And the fucked up part is obviously, strangers are going to pass judgment. That's fine. I can give a fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
I know how it feels. I know how I feel. I know how the family feels. I have people in my family that have died.
Yeah.
I know how that feels. And the shitty part was, and I'm not going to lie, I was just a kid going to prison. I'm just thinking like, once again, badge of honor. Like, yeah, this is me. This is who I am. I'm going up here on this yard and put it down. People see your paperwork, murder. They think that shit's cool.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Got a daughter. I'm still trying to fight. I'm fighting for my daughter right now. I still haven't seen her.
Wow.
It's been years upon years. I'm in the courts right now. Still, I've been home since 2022, and I'm still trying to be in my daughter's life. Her mom took her after that and just jammed out. And, it was a lot for everybody to go through. And I feel bad for the family, but also, I feel bad for my daughter. I feel bad for anybody that's going through a situation like that. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
It's fucked up going to prison as an immature kid thinking this shit's cool, and still not learning, being in there, running amok, drinking, getting loaded, bringing in dope. It's just.
How old were you at the time?
At 30. I'm 43 now.
For us as men too, we kind of like have to grow out of certain behavior.
Yeah.
There's still like a certain level of like, oh man, I'm about that business. I'm ready for this, ready for that. I'm down for the action. And then you kind of realize as you get older, like now, I'm in my 50s, and it's hard to even say like, damn, 50s, but I'm like, I look at stuff, man, what was I thinking, man? You know what I mean? Like you just, the things that you would entertain then that you look back now, and then you see young people like repeating or going down that path, you're like, dude, and I try to think like, how could I have maybe talked to a younger version of myself, or how do I reach these younger people so that they make the better choices? Because once you're in there, like you said, the pen, you got to do the time.
That's it.
You know what I mean? Ain't no getting out of there. Hey, I'm going to go home now. I learned my lesson.
Yeah.
When you get out when they say.
Yeah, it took a while to accept that too. I was filing paperwork, trying to figure out what would work for me, how I can get out, until finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna make this happen. And it took me about 5-6 years in there to finally settle down and go, okay, I need to do something with my fucking life.
Yeah.
I started hanging out with people that were doing the right thing. Chris Curtis, going to college. During all that COVID stuff, we were locked down 24 hours a day.
Damn.
I said, I got to do something, man. And I got into college. I ended up getting a degree. I got my associate's degree. Got all my counseling certs to be a drug and alcohol counselor. Started changing my thinking also.
Yeah.
I wrote every day in there, music, poetry, wrote to my daughter, even though she wasn't getting it. I got journals like this to my little kid. She still hasn't gotten, But I was trying to figure out stuff about myself. And I really did. I tapped into myself, And nothing ever really went wrong in my life until I started using and drinking, And that's why I'm sober today.
Yeah.
Nothing, the hardest thing to do nowadays is really just to turn down a fight. You still run into idiots. But I do, I don't fight.
Yeah.
I can, but I choose not to, there's a lot to lose.
Well, you got to outthink them. I've been in situations, I had somebody, they say something slick, and I just like look, and one time I went almost like pray, like, man, please, you know what I mean? Because I think like, this guy don't know who he's talking to.
Dude.
And I'm like, I could smash him out, but then there's cameras, my car license plate, I'll go back to jail. And I'm the ex-felon.
Yeah.
So I'm already in the negative trying to explain my situation, because this guy disrespected me, he did this, he ripped me off. But like, that's not gonna go over well with the judge.
Right.
So, you gotta think differently, man. But like, you said something, I think that's significant as far as like working on yourself. And, a lot of times people just get in there and do the time. Talk about like, working on yourself. Like, what was that process, man, as far as to rehabilitate? Because the prison doesn't really rehabilitate you. You got to rehabilitate yourself.
You got to do it yourself. Yeah. But they offer it. Prison's changed now, there's a lot. I mean, you could do prison's easy now, flooded with phones, drugs, alcohol, all that shit, easy as fuck, But if you really want to change and get out and do the right thing, there's also rehabilitation. There's CGA, NA, AA, lifers group. There's a million different groups. You can get all kinds of different certs in there, and they are. That's why I came home early, from doing all that, and I joined every fucking group in there and try to figure it out for myself, But hanging out with the older fellas, and you'll see them in there, quiet, arm full of books. They got a mission. People are trying to get out of there.
That's right.
My lady's dad's a lifer, been in there, almost her whole life.
Damn.
And it's crazy. You got to really work on it. In order to get things you never had, you got to do things you never done.
That's right.
Feel me? So I had to. It's easy to stay in there. It's easy to politic. It's easy to raise your hand. It's easy. All that stuff's easy.
Yeah.
The hard part is tapping inside.
And the OGs, like you said, the older guys. That's when I used to get my the game, like most of the guys I would hang out with were 20 years my senior.
Yeah, likewise.
And they would break stuff down to me, and it makes you go back and think like, damn, man, because when an older guy tell you something and then you try to rationalize it as a young guy, and then you put it in perspective. The thing that's humbling is that when you come back and realize, man, he was right.
Yeah.
Because jail, part of being in jail, going to jail is being narcissistic because you think like you're smarter than people, or stuff, and then ego. You got to get out your ego, and you got to like get outside your head to where you don't know everything. There's stuff that you can learn, and maybe you need to listen. And that's the hard part is listening, but also not being afraid to be like, what, I do need some help, or I don't know it all, and can you help me, or I'm willing to be a student,
Absolutely. You have to remain teachable. And I believe till the day you die.
Yeah.
I'm learning stuff every day. Even today, I'm living a life of, just trying to learn something new every day. I'm trying to go places I've never been. Whether that's traveling or, with a career or with my relationship, you know what I mean? Or even here, talking about my life, and people need to hear it. People need to understand that they're worth living and sharing the story and changing, man. This world's fucked up.
Yeah.
Why add to it?
Well, too, when you say about like traveling, I know you were in the state, I was in the feds, and in the feds, you have people from all over. So it's pretty crazy because, people think about, I'm going to travel, and they think Europe or South America or something, maybe Africa. But like, there's so many places here. And what's crazy is you hear stuff on like the news or social media, but until you go there, you really don't know. Like, the United States is very diverse. And there's people who've never left 20 square miles.
Right.
Yeah, and that's talking big. Most people don't leave 10 square miles, but they've never left that neighborhood. Maybe they heard or been into like Disneyland or Disney World, or some park like that, but they've never interacted with other people, man. I know guys who, I remember meeting guys in Baltimore who never talked to a Mexican.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe Puerto Rican,
yeah,
but never talked to a Mexican, never talked to a white guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how, even though we say America diverse, and how much undiverse it is.
Yeah.
Interaction.
Yeah. That comes from poverty also, where you and not having hope or not having the right leadership, and that's why I really believe in helping people. I'm big on that, and tell you the truth, until this year, I was one of those people. I've been to like Arizona and, let's see, obviously California, Mexico when I was a kid, younger, but I went to Georgia for the first time. That was the furthest I've ever been. I still haven't been out of the States.
Yeah.
It's coming, but yeah, just.
What was that like?
Georgia?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, we went to go visit some family, but I was mind blown. We jumped off a plane in Atlanta, which I'm big in music. Atlanta's big in music.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man. It's beautiful just to travel and be with people you love, and it's real nice.
I always want to do. I did when I was a kid. We did a road trip from California to New York, but I want to do it as a grown person because you stop and you see these little towns.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the little local diner. you know, gas station. You see these like these cool little places that almost like untouched. Because you know, in America, we like even though we have access, like you hear all the time in California, like everything's like California, or you see how crazy Seattle is, or Portland, or you go, you know, you see Phoenix or Philadelphia, but then you go to all these little places and you're like, man, it's just so crazy, so different.
Yeah.
You know, and when you're driving, it's different than flying, because flying you just land.
Yeah.
When you drive through and pull over, you know, I seen some guys, they did a trip. These brothers did a trip to Sturgis, and they were driving, and it's like, you know, black guys that go to Sturgis, and they went to Sturgis, and they met all these cool people. But people think Sturgis and think, oh, white biker guys. But there's everybody.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of diversity, and you meet some cool people.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I think is missing, is that interaction with other people and communicating. Because as you start talking, you realize, like, man, this is, dude, hey, I could be this dude's friend. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Once you start traveling and learning new stuff, meeting new people, your mind starts thinking you can do anything, go anywhere. Yeah. Start growing, you know, mentally and spiritually, for sure. I think that's where I'm at in my life today. You know, I just want to grow. You know, I've been trapped for so damn long, and it's nice, not just trapped mentally, but in, you know, with drugs. You know, I'm an addict, alcoholic. You know, once again, I'm clean and sober today, but I was trapped in that, you know, substance abuse, dude. Yeah. And it was fucked up for a long time, but it's nice. My people, you know, I'm in the, you know, sober world, my community, you know, my lady, you know, so I'm always going to all these meetings and all that, but they're all happy. We know, you know, we all know each other, where we've been, where we're trying to go. And it's beautiful, man. But, you can get trapped in that, you know, and where I'm from, you know, LA, I've never really, until just recently, been out of this area, you know, and everybody else is trapped too. We got friends and family that are still trapped in, you know, riverbeds, homeless, and, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's really beautiful meeting people, helping people, and learning new things, you know.
What would, you know, be one of the things, or some of the things you think, like, as far as in prison, that you witness or experience that you're like, damn, that shit is crazy? Because I know for myself, there are things that happen, and it's like, you know, sometimes I have these crazy dreams, man. I'm locked up. I don't know how I got there. And I'm like, man, you know, hey, I need to talk to my counselor. I'm supposed to be out of here. What am I doing? And I have these crazy nightmares. You know, I don't have them as much now, because I was able to go to a prison and on my own and talk to inmates and then leave. So that kind of like, I left on my own.
Right.
But like, typically when I'm in cuffs and I'm in, you know what I mean, I'm in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, that right there is like, is still, you know, mentally, you know, sometimes I have those dreams, not as much, but I think that's a combination of, plus having experienced the trauma, because you think, you know, prison, blah, 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 you know, but there's a lot of other psychological things that are along with what you experience there. You know, what would you say, like, just some of the, you know, something that you've seen, like, just, you know, you're like, man, this shit is wild, man, and you either got to participate or, you know, you got to face a consequence.
Yeah, my first day, my first term, I went to New Folsom, and New Folsom's off the hook. And when I went up there, you know, we're up in, you know, Represa, and we're on the bus, and it's beautiful, just beautiful trees, deer, geese everywhere, you know, and you're going down, all beautiful. You see the gate, pull in. You know, Folsom's got a good story behind it. It's beautiful, you know. If you're like I was, you know, I always want to go to Folsom. Pretty fucking stupid, but it's truth, you know. Popped in, and the first day, you know, after we got, you know, we went, you know, got our beds and all that, got our cell, and got to walk out to the yard for a moment, really small yard. And they had killed somebody that day, you know. So imagine being a kid, you know, you're walking there on the very first day on a prison yard. And I was fucking stuck, you know. And a little while later, I called my dad and I told him, man, this place is fucking beautiful, you know. He was like, what the fuck's wrong with you, you know? I said, yeah, they killed someone today too. You know, so mentally, that's what's got me where I'm like, what the fuck are you thinking, you know? And yeah, it was crazy, man. They smashed his head in with a piece of, you know, it's made out of rock, right? So the prison's made out of rock, and they smashed his head in with a piece of rock on the yard. And that prison's known for also the COs, you know, killing. Yeah, they ain't playing right there. No warning shots for
Yeah,
a reason.
yeah.
You know, they see something, you know, that'll pop your ass. And they ain't aiming for a leg or a stomach, you know. They'll hit you right where it counts. But that was probably the craziest shit I've ever seen and been a part of, you know, in prison. That kind of changed my mentality also, where this is a real fucking deal.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets scary in there, you know.
As far as like people like you like interacted with or came across, was there anybody like, you know, that was like a heavy hitter that you were like, whoa? I mean, like in Lompoc, they had mafia dudes, they had like kingpin, they were like dudes like next level. Like I'm like a little bank robber. They had dudes in there that was like way above my pay grade.
Yeah, so I'm in Corcoran, and my cellie, I don't want to say no names or whatever, you know, but my cellie was, he's from Stockton, and big hitter. And I was moving things in there. So him, and there was another guy, he was a hitman for a club, motorcycle club. And so they would argue about who's going to have me as their cellie. You know, because they're getting loaded in there, you know. If I'm your cellie, obviously you're going to get loaded for free. And fuck, man, it got really vicious in there, you know. Until you see it, this guy, he liked getting loaded, and he really liked knives too, you know. And I worked in welding, so imagine that.
Yeah, so he's like putting pressure.
Yeah, and it got really crazy, and politically wise, you know, you got your certain cars, i.e., you know, Dago, you know, LA, wherever, right? And so, you know, doing what I was doing, I'll break off my car, you know, break him off or whatever. And he didn't like that. So started plotting and, you know, politicking. And all of a sudden, you know, dude from IE, he gets removed off the yard. Another dude's getting removed off the yard. My car got very small real fast until it was me and a couple other dudes, you know. And then I ended up having to go put in work. But my cellie's got the yard. So how the fuck is this happening?
Wow.
You know, but that's the drugs, you know. And I mean, it was fucking nuts seeing. And for some reason, I love this dude. You know, while we were in there, we had all these long talks. He ain't never coming home. You know, I think about him all the time still to this day. But, you know, his dad was a lifer also.
Damn.
And ended up dying in prison. And obviously him. Yeah, it's fucking sad, bro.
You know what's crazy about that, man? It's like what you just said is like those people, and you know, it's like the politicians we have out of here. Those people are they've mastered manipulation in people psychology.
Yeah.
And they've done it without the Lamborghini, without the big house, without all the women. They've done it with just pure, just knowing to get something, like you said, the drugs. Out here is whatever they're doing, the same thing, getting high. Like a person, you wouldn't even know it, but like, you know, because you see a guy in the yard, you think, oh, whatever. And then you look like the dude, what? He's been in the cell for 2 days. He's high on heroin.
Yeah.
He done passed, you know what I mean? But this dude's a big wig, but you're like, it's crazy. And they're intelligent.
Yeah.
Super intelligent. Like the intelligent level, the IQ is off the chain.
Very intelligent people.
Read every book. I mean, I'm talking to guys, they're citing stuff from like Sun Tzu. They're citing the Art of War. They're citing the Bible. They cite the Quran. Like they know everything.
Laws of power.
All that stuff.
All. Yeah.
You know, like history that you were like, man, I never heard about that.
Fucking geniuses in there. Yeah, they are.
You know, but it's used in a way to like control pieces on a chessboard in prison to make moves, and then the ultimate goal to make sure I can keep getting high.
It's fucking sickening, you know, and it's sad, man.
My mentor, he died in there of a heroin overdose, and he this old white guy, Vietnam vet, man, super smart, man. Used to do law for people, and I didn't know he was hooked on heroin until later on, because I remember coming to the cell one time, he had blood coming out of here. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Because I'm naive. I've seen crack and, you know, people smoke weed, get high. I never seen, known anybody on heroin, but he was a heroin addict. And then, you know, later on I heard he like, you know, they were going to get the old debt because, you know, start building up debt and doing this, you know, because, you know, you want to get high. And I'm like, man, I caught Hep C from doing that shit, sharing needles. But a good guy, man, but you would never know, like, damn, a good guy, why'd they do heroin? You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's an addict.
Yeah.
Got the disease.
Yeah. But it seems normal.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah. I mean, 70% of people that are in prison have that disease. You know, that's what brought them there.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that's what keep them there too.
Yeah.
You know, not getting it right, getting loaded, you know, felon drug tests, you know, trying to make moves. You know, I caught extra time for, you know, my addiction, you know, bringing in drugs, got busted. And I thank God for school and self-help. You know, I ended up getting that time knocked off. But, yeah, man, I know a lot of people in there that are, you know, they're never coming home. Amazing people. I tripped out, dude. Not too long ago, I was looking at pictures. You know, I got my prison box still and just going through, you know, letters and all this. And I seen this picture of one of my old cellies. He had been there for, I think, 35 years for stealing a Hello Kitty phone.
Oh, my God.
Years ago.
35 years?
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah. So he got struck out. My partner, right?
Wow,
One of my
over a
cellies.
phone.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at this picture and I turn it over and it's got his dad's number on the back of it. This just happened like 3 weeks ago. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna call him, you know? Call his dad, see how he's doing. So I called the number and I go, hey, blah, blah, so-and-so there. And he goes, no. He goes, who's this? And I said, it's Chris Baker. He goes, what's up, motherfucker? He's home.
Wow.
Finally came home after all these years. So he's up north, but he's doing well. Still struggling, you know.
35 years.
35 years for
Shit.
still.
I mean, that's most of your life is in prison.
The family didn't even remember.
Wow.
Didn't remember the whole case, you know. 35 years later, he finally came home. Family didn't even remember him, you know, still on their phone. It's crazy, man. It's mind blowing. Yeah.
It's mind blowing because it's mind blowing, dude. Because like I look at like what's happened over the last 5-6 years, right? And how they were striking out guys over, you know,
God.
going to a liquor store, you steal extra bottle, whatever, a bottle of alcohol, third strike, right? But then they're letting these people steal. They're telling them to steal.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, I stole under $1,000. I
Right.
mean, dude, and then so you're mentally tricking them on the street.
Right.
And then when you flip the script again, now you can lock all of them back up.
Right.
So it's like we need to fill the beds again.
That's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
100%.
It's a racket, bro.
That's
But like
exactly
the
what they're
people
doing.
thinking, oh well, and you don't. Meanwhile, the people who had businesses who were trying to like do like if you had a clothing line or a business or you had a shoe store, we're getting ran to the dirt because our insurance is no good.
Right.
We got hit 4 or 5 times. Dudes are running in there. And it's not like back in the day where you have 1 or 2 people. So these are like groups of 10, 15, 20.
Yeah, I've seen that.
20 dudes,
Right.
bro. And then nothing's happening to them.
Right. It's crazy. And there's people in there still on their third strike. You know, they are working on that, right? There's a lot of guys coming home. There's a lot of people, you know, that got a life over, you know, being in a car when a, you know, murder happened. You know, all those laws are changing. A lot of policy change is happening. But still, you know, 25 years later, you know, come on now.
I don't see it like, to me, when I see like giving people like that an opportunity who have changed their life, done the programs, but then you got a guy who's been locked up. I just read a thing like, you know, a judge let a guy, he's been locked up 49 times. Then he gets out and lights a lady on fire on the public transit.
God. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the die bitch.
Yeah.
He's been locked up 49, not for misdemeanors, violent crimes.
Right.
Every time I got locked up, I did time.
Yeah.
I'm gone. Juvenile hall, boop. You know, why, boop, I'm gone. You know,
Yeah.
but 49 times, bro.
Crazy. Yeah.
And this dude ain't trying to change.
Right.
It's insane, man. And so, like, I don't know, man. And I tell people all the time, I said, this was like, it was like a crazy almost experiment to see if we openly said, okay, you can steal, but you won't go to jail if it's under $1,000 or under $900. Morally, how many people would do it who normally wouldn't? And it worked. You know, I mean, look how many people were going in there. They were stealing Lululemon, Foot Locker, and you had on $200 pair of shoes. You didn't need to steal.
Right.
It ain't stealing to pay your bills.
Right.
You're leaving in a damn Audi A5.
Right.
You know what I mean? Not a Kia.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, it's
Coming
wild.
up. They're coming up. Yeah.
Oh man.
Cops ain't doing shit about it. I've seen it multiple times. You know, we'd be walking through Walmart and I see somebody got a big old TV. You know, and I tell my lady, he's gonna steal that. You know, and we get out front and there he goes. You know, and they don't do nothing. They just watch him go. You know, back in the day, they're chase you down and beat your ass. I remember my dad getting beat up. You know, shoplifting right in front of me as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, I remember that multiple times happening.
They need to bring it back. I hate to say
For
it,
real?
bring it back. If they had a squad, and they call them the tackle squad, and they just sit back there with like a helmet and shoulder pads, or when they see it, they push a button.
Yeah, but then
And you come outside.
Yeah. Then they'll turn around and sue you though.
Yeah, but there's no
That's what
suit
they do.
because the clause is on the thing. If like when they say, we're filming.
Yeah,
Well, if you have accepted being tackled like the NFL.
right.
And we just have a tackle crew. They come
Fine
out of
print.
nowhere.
Fine print.
Fine-
Yeah, right. So you can't read it.
Yeah, so
man.
you can't read it. We're gonna.
You will get your ass beat. Fine print. You walk in here, you will get your ass beat still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is because it's like it's almost like when I hear somebody say, "Well, the guy these guys broke in the house, right? Ex military Vietnam guy shoots the guy 5 times, right? And then 4 more times. Well, and then parents, well, he was just trying to. Why they shoot him an extra 4 times? You was in my house.
Right.
You had a gun. You were violating my peace. So if I shot you 15 times, little John shouldn't have been in my shit.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's overkill. Too bad. It's overkill. You got to do life for that.
Yeah.
Get
Oh,
out
he
of
can
here.
only shot him. He only need to shoot him 1 time. Man, I'm fearing for my life. I'm emptying clips.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Who knows if you're going to come back?
Right. California doesn't even have the self-defense anymore.
I heard about
On
that.
my
man.
case, that's what that's what I was fighting. My lawyer, fucking piece of shit, goes, there's no self-defense in California. You're gonna do your time. I think about that all the time.
Isn't that-
Who's fighting for these dudes? Yeah, that's unfortunate, man.
But, well, it's almost like, I say it's so crazy out here in California because they showed a guy, people are following people home. The dude, if somebody came through his gate, I seen it on the thing, he had a closed circuit camera, he turns around, he pulls out, he shoots at them, and they're trying to shoot at him, but his family and his daughter is inside. So if they would have came in, what are they going to do? They're going to violate. Yeah. What if they would have killed? So is that all right? So as long as a criminal can get away with it, but if you shoot him while he's leaving, that's overkill. But he done already violated you, and now you can't. Your wife is everything. Your kids is violated. They're traumatized.
Yeah, that's the bad part right there.
You got to live with that.
We can deal with that, but family and kids seeing all that, traumatized.
Beating you upside the head with a gun, but you can't shoot the dude.
Yeah, get out of here with that. Yeah, I'm still gonna do what I got to do.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what, some shit, and being in the South Bay and going to the beach, dudes are drunk. I've had my stepson with me, he's 10, and having drunk dudes come up talking shit. I'm like, man, dude, I can't do this right here in front of this kid. I can't do it at all. I'll go to prison.
Yeah.
I'm a double striker. I'll go for life.
Yeah.
But so you got to really, really watch yourself out here, man. And that's be walking away. It takes a man to walk away. Remember hearing that as kids? That's true shit. Especially now, it takes a man that's got some strikes also. Smart dude to hurry up and bounce. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
What do you think about all these videos they're showing now with people, like literally like posing in prison? They're
Dude, it's a trip,
holding up the bag of weed. They're like kicking it with the cell phone. They got the chain to go. I mean, dude, it's like they act like it's like just be cool in here because everybody else is cool. It's not that bad.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: what you're doing is you're painting a false picture. For dudes, really. It's not going to be that bad when I go there. And out here they're just hitting licks or doing whatever. Thinking or knowing that they're going to go in there and have it like that. Prison's watered down way, it's been like that for a while. Politics have changed in there, a lot of shit, which is not bad, with the politics and all that. But going in there and the prisons are flooded with phones, drugs, alcohol. There's not, it's kind of, our society, man. And it's getting worse. It really is, if you ask me, and you're going in there, how the fuck are you supposed to learn something or tap into yourself if you're on the phone all day or you're on Instagram and, filming a, video while you're in there. You're
not bettering yourself.
No, you're not. And you're going to end up coming back, dude.
The bigger thing with that, I look at it as like the ones, the say, and it's like you have free will, so you don't have to be out here doing stupid shit. But like if doing that right, what it does is not only for every one of those guys, right, I would say out of 10, probably 7 of them have kids.
Yeah, that's
so then you have fatherless house again. And then that's a perpetual cycle, bro.
Yeah.
So when you have 2 or 3 generations of people who their parents, somebody's been in prison and you have a lack of authority. And then the kids are like, well, my dad was in, my uncle, blah. And so you're creating it's not that bad. Homie was up in there. He showed me pictures. He was in there making money. He was flipping, doing this, doing that, hustling. So you're thinking like, well, man, I'm hustling in prison. I'm doing this. It's not that bad. I get out here, I got to deal with all this stuff and blah, 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 and drama, baby, my kids. I don't have to, I only have to see them at the visiting when they come to visit me and my wife for like a couple hours, then I go back and kick it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm still making moves from in there. So people actually convince themselves that type of living becomes normalized.
All right.
And that's what's crazy.
Man. Yeah. It's funny. I was just telling my lady about that, like, well, let's talk about, the fathers that don't get a chance to come home, and be a father again. They're stuck up in there forever. But if they do, like myself, come home, I need my opportunity with the judge to get back into my daughter's life. You feel me? Like, I made a mistake back then. I've changed a million times over. Let me be a father. I'm still fighting for my kid. I'm not the only fucking dad trying to do this.
Yeah.
Or mom.
Yeah.
Moms that go upstate, go to prison. Trying to get back into their kid's life. It's fucked up. I remember years ago, I read a book, I think it's called We're All Doing Time. Basically if I go to prison, basically my mom's in there too.
Yeah.
My daughter,
the
whole family, they're all doing time.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. I hope that people could see that, when they go in, everybody else is affected too.
You don't think about that because like I didn't think about that, but like, I impacted like my sister. I went there for her graduation.
Yeah.
Went there for graduation from college when she had her first child. You know what I mean? All these things, but you're like, oh, I'm just doing time. But like, people who are impacted, like my mom at home, depressed, not knowing what's going on with me in there, my safety, and then she can't stress herself out if I'm here and handling my business in there because she has to live her life. And then on top of it, you're like, can I get a visit? And these people most of the prisons are way out in the middle of nowhere. So you got to stay in a shitty hotel, catch the plane, go way in here, and then try to get there. Then you're violated because you got to go through all this shit to try to get in here to see your kid. And you're with all this other stuff. You're looking around, so you're in this horrible place, and prison has a certain energy.
Yeah.
I remember being at Lompoc at USP, and like you said, follow some Lompoc around it, nice camping area, this and that, beautiful. But Lompoc, bro, used to be like a storm cloud over it, dark.
Yeah, it's dark.
You know what I mean? And it's like a dark energy. And it's like, why would somebody want to come way out there to come see you for a couple of hours? And then sometimes they say, well, this outfit's not appropriate. You got to go.
Right.
And then so the dentist like, they don't like you. So then it's like, damn, I drove all the way. I can't even come visit.
Yeah. Yeah. Not only did I lose 12 people in my family, but I ran my mom. I remember seeing my mom when I paroled. I couldn't believe it. And I feel like personally I did that to her. I ran, moms love their kids, and I was her first, I'm her firstborn, and seeing the stress that I did to her, you know what I mean? It kind of affected, it still does, it affects me. I got to live a living amends, to her and the people I lost, my victim. And, kind of changed, man, because I'll tell you what, being a, youngster, you got it fucked up. You think you're going to go in there and it's going to be all fine and dandy, And even if you do, and even if it is fine and dandy for you, guess what? Your moms don't think it's fine and dandy. Your kid out here don't feel like that. It's fucking, it's sad, man. It really is. And I know that because I did that, And, my daughter lost her dad. Basically, me going in there, it's unfortunate.
And it's so important. I think the father role is just as important as the mother role.
100%.
And together, it's like it's a combination because they try to make it seem like, oh, the father, blah blah blah. But that's one of the biggest things I think that has broken down America's stronghold is the family values. I mean, back in the day, even if if you're not super religious, you had a religious background. People went to church on Sundays or had Sunday meals. Families sat around and they had like a bond. The fathers were there. And even if you got spankings, there was still something there. But now it's like with all that, and then everybody's so self-indulged. Like, look at my life. You got women that are so caught up with how many guys are liking or in their DMs, and then the kids are just playing with an iPad. There's like, dude, there's nothing. Everybody become like empty, devoid of any, self-awareness or any type of bond.
Ego, man. People,
Yeah.
Narcissists. Only care about your circle, instead of helping out other people.
Yeah.
That's what it's about to me. You help the next man. Just help the next human.
Well, I think it's so important, like your like you said, going your circle of friends, and it's not lonely, but it's like you're more scrutinized than the people you let in.
Oh yeah.
Because you gotta be selective, and not everybody is on the same journey. That's why I hate when they try to like group people, like, oh, hey, all them people or all that group of people. It's like, dude, not everybody. You can't say everybody's like that. Not everybody's racist. Not everybody's this. Not everybody's that. Not everybody's cool. You got some people look like they're not cool. Mm-hmm. They're snakes.
Yeah.
So you can't group everybody, but they like to do that because it makes it easier for the narrative.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right.
What is something like you would say or share as far as in your experiences, that they, like, somebody might not know without having you explain it? Like, I know you got a lot of tattoos and stuff, and in prison you get tattoos that they're symbolic. They have a meaning, where a lot of people now never been to prison, bro, and they got all these tattoos like just all over. I'm like, back in the day, I knew, like, dude is fresh out of San Quentin. I'm like, dude, he old Folsom. Mm-hmm. Like, I would see these OGs, crazy, always wearing Lokes. Mm-hmm. It was serious though. Teardrop meant something, what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you only got that stuff, like, when I grew up, like, serious penitentiary dudes, real biker dudes, and military. That's it. Those are the three that had, like, real, they've been through some shit. Mm-hmm. But now it's like you see it, and it's just like, and you can have whatever you want. I don't really care, but I'm just saying, like, like you said, people interacting and you have to reserve yourself, but you've been through some shit, man. Mm-hmm. And so what would you say to somebody, like, having gone through this, like, the ups and downs of that, and how you look at it now? Because I look at it like, I tell kids, it's okay to be called a nerd or a square, and not having shot at somebody or carried a gun or robbed somebody. You don't have to have that. A rep doesn't mean shit.
Right.
A rep that you took care of your family and your loved ones, that's more important. But as far as the rep, oh man, you're praising a dude because he just got out and he killed somebody. He killed somebody, he did this or he did that. But, like, what about the person who didn't do anything? That's all right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm given the opportunity to be a stepdad to a 10-year-old boy. I don't have a boy myself. And I'll tell you what I do is I teach him everything that I was taught, the opposite of what I was taught in there. Complete opposite. Be friends with, he's got a black little friend at school, He's friends with everybody, nice as can be with everybody, loves everybody the same, That's the way it should be. And the biggest thing for me is respect your family, respect those around you. And it come back around. People gravitate towards that. And with me, with being tatted, I'm thankful that everybody's getting all those other tattoos and doing all that, because I fit right in.
Yeah.
I go try to get a job and I fit right in until they start looking, like, oh damn,
that's different ink.
Oh, are you in military or they don't know, but it's fine. I'm a different person than I was before. And I'm just trying, man, to just spread love and just be different, man. It's a whole different trip than when I first came home. I was really institutionalized, man. The way I walked, and you looked at me longer than a couple seconds. I'll tell you something. I don't give a fuck now.
Yeah.
I don't care, bro. I care about my little circle right here, and my little family, and I care about those around me. I got friends, that I check up on, but I love what you said about, about taking care of your family, and that's what it is for me.
Yeah.
Because when you go in there, listen, man, your homies ain't taking care of you in there. I'd be very surprised. Those dudes you're running with on the streets, your gang and all that, they're really, I guarantee you they're not. I know they're not, because they didn't for me either. Straight up. The dude that I stalked a dude for and ended up killing him, ended up telling on me, And come on, man. it's a cold world, man.
Well, it's just like when I see those guys, I said they were able to get three or four stolen cars, 15 people to run inside a mall with hammers, bro.
It's crazy.
I mean, inside a mall with hammers, broad daylight, with cameras everywhere, but you can get that many people to put in $300 to buy a little stand and make a business.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Like you couldn't even get those many people to go play a game of football, but you guys all went in here and stole all this shit and ran through the mall. And if one person, everybody's going, they're all going to go down eventually.
Yeah.
15 people, man?
Yeah. That wouldn't happen back in the day.
No, it wasn't. Dude, no. Yeah. Bro, the police, before you got the mall, there'd be a SWAT team out there. And you luckily they didn't shoot somebody just to make a demo.
Right.
Like when I grew up, like you said, running, like doing stuff like that, like as soon as you had a mask on, somebody was calling. Before you even got back to run back, they were already en route.
Yeah.
You're not, but now it's like, how they even getting, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. You might as well defund the police. If you're doing that, you ain't doing nothing, just let them do whatever. You might as well. I mean, I don't believe in that, but you might as well. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
You run up in, and really you're doing all that to another hardworking dude's business,
Jewelry store.
I mean, come on. Somebody's been saving all their life or hustling all their lives. A lot of people don't like looking in the mirror, but if that was you getting robbed that, you'd be one pissed off.
Or would you can't knock the guy when he turns around and starts shooting at you.
Oh yeah.
Because like he's defending, this is his life savings. It's him, and this is retirement. He's leaving it to his kids. So people don't look at both sides, and people sometimes say, "Oh, Big Herc, you're a hypocrite." Man, look, I did my time, but if something would have happened, I would have had to live with that. It's like now that I know, and I'm telling you from perspective, so you don't do it, but there's accountability.
Yeah.
There's accountability, man. You can't think that it's not like you said. There's your perspective, then there's perspective of the business owner.
Yeah.
Or the person who's, who got hurt, who's feeling like, I have to defend myself or whatever the case may be. But a lot of times people don't look at both sides of it, man. And that's the thing, like when you get in there, like, damn, I didn't even think about it like that. What if it was you on the ground?
Oh, I know.
Getting pistol whipped or whatever.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, I put myself in my victim. His name was Jody, but I think about that, what if that was my mom losing her son, my dad, I know. And I think that's the, I'm thankful for that, because I do have compassion and empathy for other people, because that's why I'm not out there victimizing people, or I'm not out there robbing.
Yeah.
I'm trying, dude. I'm trying my best to just be a good person in a bad world.
Yeah.
And that's a battle on its own right there.
No, I mean, especially the way it's glorified now, and people make it cool to like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it's like, back in the day, there was no talking. Yeah. Nobody talked about nothing, bro. Yeah. If you seen a dude and you seen him at the mall or seen him over at a gas station, it was on. It wasn't no. You never. If you don't. It was only talking if I seen you. It wasn't no talking through the internet and this and that and all this stuff, man. And it's just I don't know how it would ever go back, but people find it entertaining now, and this is a society we live in. So I feel it's just to try to bring people like you on to show the other side and just how a little fight ended up into a whole sentence, that you had to fight for because they were trying to give you life.
Yeah. I've had friends and family tell me that they haven't fought since they heard about that. And that's a while ago. But hopefully that can change somebody else's, split decision. Yeah. Because that's all it was. Yeah. Impulsive thinking, impulsive action led to long term, and I suffer still. I'm working steps to help me, forgive myself and all that, but fuck, dude, think about it. I killed somebody. My actions, immature actions, led to somebody's passing away, somebody's family hurting forever. Every anytime. And that's a cold thing to live with. I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks, how anybody feels. If you got a heart and you feel what I feel, you would change too.
And a good point you just brought up is like, a young person, you think you're what they call it, full of liquor and whatever.
Yeah.
But when you get older, like you said, you're thinking like you're sitting in prison like, damn, man, was that really, and you got 20, 30, 40, you're sitting there and you're 30 years older now trying to figure out like, man, I've learned my lesson and was that really worth it?
Fuck no.
You know what I mean? You start thinking about it, man. You know, especially these kids who are just randomly just shooting, just doing stupid shit, man.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I try to put out, man. And it's like you think differently when you're young, and you know, of course,
do.
youth, you have all this action and just, you know, you have youth on your side. But when you think about like long term, is this what you want to be known for, or is this something that you are gonna look back on and be like, wow, you know, that was cool?
Yeah, see, that's the thing now. I think about that, and I was given a second chance at life.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not gonna piss on it.
No.
And I'm just trying my best, you know. And things weren't perfect even after I came home. You know, I recognize I got a second chance later on after I came home. You know, just sitting there like, fuck, dude, I could still be in there today. I could still be in there 20 years, 30, 40 years from now, whenever. And I know a lot of people that have the same case as mine. How the fuck's that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you just gotta, I guess, really just walk in amends every day, man, waking up with gratitude.
What's a bigger calling? I mean, like, you know, I say my blessing that nobody like died in my case. And then I seen a guy on the news recently who got into a situation on the freeway and then tried to run across the freeway and got killed.
I seen that.
And dude, I ran across 5 lanes of highway on 101 during the rain on my getaway. Luckily, I didn't get smacked.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it, bro. Like, it showed the picture of me jumping over the center divider. And I'm like, dude, how the hell in the rain, 101, people are doing like, man, I'm lucky I didn't get killed.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's got to be a better purpose for me to still be alive. I forgot. Yeah, if you take a look at my shirt, this is actually, I did this as not to glorify, but this is my bank robbery, me jumping out the SUV, running across the highway. And when I seen that guy get killed on Fox, I get smacked. I'm like, damn, dude, how did I make it across the highway like that, man? And I got arrested on the beach. And my co-defendants, both of them are dead. One caught lupus when he got out. And the other one, he got killed by LAPD on Skid Row. He was homeless.
Oh, shit.
He went crazy in prison, man. He when he got arrested, he told, but then said he didn't tell. And then after we got our discovery, we found out. And then he took back his tried to take back his testimony, and they gave him the max.
Oh shit!
They offered him 5 years.
Yeah,
he ended up going to trial. He went in there. He went crazy, bro. Stopped showering. Would like turn crazy. He did his time in a mental ward.
Wow.
Got out, was on Skid Row, never checked in, and the cops said he came by. They were doing a sweep, and he tried to reach for the gun, and they shot him.
Wow.
And I heard his parents got his family found out in Cameroon. And they got a $3 million settlement from LAPD, but he's dead.
Yeah.
So, you know, shit is crazy as how stuff plays out. You know what I mean? That's why I said, like, this platform, I do it to teach a life lesson. But, like, I feel I'm blessed for a reason. I got to give back. And then having people like you on to share your story because, dude, it's like, man, I could have been, I mean, dude, you know, it's unfortunate, but maybe you could change a life.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm just trying to, you know, help. I always tell my story, you know, whether it be in meetings or, you know, on right here or however in the future, I'm open to do that. And hopefully it can change a life. You know, I commend you, bro, for what you're doing and the change you made, you know, and you've helped, I'm sure you've helped a lot of people, you know, by doing what you're doing and just, you know, that's real big. Yeah.
Do you have, so if people want to reach out to you, what's your social media and how can people get
Recovery Rockstar 333
okay.
on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with?
Yeah, you're never alone. If you're ever trying to, you know, think in your head you're alone and using or thinking about suicide or any shit like that, man, just reach out to somebody. You know, you're never alone. You know? And I've been there. That's why I'm trying to, you know, just let people know. Sometimes you think you're alone, you're not. Reach out. If you're trying to get help, if you're going through it, you know, with substance abuse, there's a million fucking rehabs that take all kinds of insurance out here in LA and all across the United States, really. All you got to do is call.
And also, I mean, you talked about taking classes in there, like for these people in there, like, dude, you know, rather than go to prison and then now you want to get in the trade, do it now.
Do it now.
You know what I mean? Because like whatever you're doing, when you get in there, you work for pennies on a dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. 33 cents. Remember that.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're getting your labor at a slave wage, or you can be out here and at least be in the game and make a difference and be here for your family.
Yeah. think for me, or for anybody really, it's just about helping someone. You know, I feel full. I'm not rich. I'm not a baller, not even close. But I feel rich when I'm helping someone.
And you have your freedom.
Yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? You can help you're there with your stepson, and you're able to build these relationships. So you don't have somebody telling you who you can and can't talk to.
Can't piss on God's second chance.
Yeah.
That's the thing, you know, just spit on it, you know. I mean, I'm not too sure what I have in store, how long I'm going to be here, but as long as I'm sober and clean and filled with love and just trying to help somebody, you know, it's good.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you. And you guys, make sure you hit that like, that subscribe button, and reach out to my man on social media. Big Herc 916, fresh out.